Welcome back, everybody, to round number 3 here in the NRG series, where we are in Elmshurst and giving you a Team Trios event. 10K on the line, and of course, getting to that end of year leaderboard. My name is Will Hall, that's Mason Clark, and we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to go straight down to our feature match. We are starting, of course, in the modern seat as they are kicking off as well. We've got Goyo's Vengeance up against Is It Prowess. How does this go normally, Mason?
Yeah, this matchup can be really interesting. I mean, the Goyo's Vengeance deck can obviously, reanimate and attracts, gain 7 life. Heaven forbid they ephemerate it, right? And then you have a 7/7 lifelink flying blocker. That's going to be a huge issue. It also has a lot of interactive pieces, but sometimes, the Is It Prowess deck can totally work through this, as we saw Surveil into put left the land on top and just flipped it into play here. And it looks like our hand is very reactive here for Alex. Looks like, a couple force negations going on, a stock up. We're just trying to interact 1-to-1 here. And having this triple Swift Spear start. This is, sorry, no?
I was going to make a Taylor Swift Spear reference. There's nothing relevant.
Yeah. I like her music. But, this is kind of where a lot of the fastest draws can come from. And the Goyos that can't answer this, right? You are a Solitude Ephemerate deck. You are able to kind of clean up a bunch of creatures. But when you have fast starts like this, and then on the next turn, you just unload, a bevy of spells, heaven forbid something like a Lava Dart, or, maybe even an Expressive Iteration, if you're able to find a blue land, that can lead to some absolutely devastating stuff here. So we're going to have to see what Alex can do as you are on the back foot. Alex, hiding the graveyard. Keep your secrets over there.
I was going to say, on the flip side, that this deck's also got those powerful draws, right? That Surveil there, either these first two, if that could have put in a Trax or something like that into play, then being able to, get it back out of the board and then ephemerate it to keep it around. Having a 7/7 lifelinker is huge in this type of matchup, not only on defense, but also offense. We're going to do a ending that's going to get rid of one of these Swift Spears as the turn gets passed back across to Kevin.
Yeah, it looks like Kevin picked up a Lava Dart. Also has the land here.
Gonna get in there. Now, is this the point where we start just nickel and diamond, or are we going to start going all in like this, by getting the Lava Dart to the face as well? Double prowess trigger.
Yeah, so we see the double prowess trigger. I kind of like getting in some of that damage here, especially the last card in our hand is an Unholy Heat. A little surprised to not see Alex use a Force Negation on that Lava Dart. It represents so much damage, but it looks like we're going to actually force down this bolt here. So still getting our prowess triggers.
2 now. So we could heat our own creature at this point to get another trigger, but we're going to Lava Dart first, make sure it's really big. That's going to be the third prowess trigger. So these are now going to be 4 5s on the board. Could make them 5 6s if needs be, which would be lethal if the life total is correct at 10.
Yeah, so this is an interesting moment from Kevin. Do I want to Unholy Heat and, walk into Solitude Ephemerate? If you have that, I'm dead. If you do have Solitude Ephemerate, at least with Unholy Heat, I can stop the Solitude from coming back. Looks like Kevin is going to pull the trigger here. And this is why I mentioned Force Negation the Lava Dart. It looks like less damage than Lightning Bolt, but it ends up being a similar amount, and multiple prowess triggers for free can be absolutely devastating. As it looks like Alex does have another Force Negation with a stock up in hand, but you mentioned this Unholy Heat here. A little +2.
No deliriums, it's only going to be 2, but it does the extra trigger that's needed. So it doesn't matter if you counter it, that's fine. These are still going to be 5 6 creatures. You're at 10. This is lethal if you don't have an answer. And I don't think we do. We might be going to a game 2 in figures few.
Yeah, I mean, Alex here going to look back and maybe regret not force negating that dart there, as that is lethal, even if you force negate the Unholy Heat. So, tough one. Let's go check it on standard and see
I'll
how
give
Mikey
you
Hopkins
two guesses of what the both players are playing.
Yeah, Mikey Hopkins, someone who's played a lot of our events, loves playing blue-white control, but taking one for the team here. As you mentioned, Kamari last round sort of said, hey, at team events, you're going to be more willing to play the best deck because you don't want to let your friends down, right? Maybe if this was a singles event, Mikey might be playing blue-white control, but he's rocking up with the best deck versus one of the best players in our field today with Will Kruger, Mox champion, multi-Pro Tour competitor, NRG champ of both single events and our end of the year series events. So definitely someone you don't want to be sitting across from. Very good at the standard format as well. Has obviously great at everything, but I would say standard is one of the things where I feel like Will always really shines.
Yeah, whatever he picks up, he really will put his heart and soul into it. We'll learn all the iterations of the deck. He used to stream a little bit as well. I used to enjoy watching his streams. But I think I know him best from being a Hammer Time player. Back when he was tearing up Modern with that deck.
Yeah, I would say Will does this thing where he finds a deck he really likes, ideally a good deck, but it doesn't even have to be the best deck, right? Just like a very reasonable deck, and then really masters it and learns the ins and the outs, right? So stuff like Hammer, he'll pick up the VV Cauldron, right? Especially if he likes it. But we saw him play like a lot of Dimir mid range in the past, for example, for a while. Even when people thought maybe Dimir was the second or third best deck, because he really liked it and knew the matchups really well and knows that type play, beats all. As we see a ton of power here from Mikey.
That is a lot of damage coming across. Going to have to force the chump block there. Going to leave the Nathan Sawyer on the board as he's going to untap for the turn. Now, I feel like we're going to need some sort of into the Floodmore effects to at least stem the bleeding here.
Yeah, and this is one of those spots where into the Floodmaw, very versatile, and with all these counters being stuff, it turns into like kind of removal, but it does give Mikey more gas. So I'm curious to see what Will can do as a VV does hit the graveyard. If we have an untapped land plus a Cauldron, that's going to give us a ton of mana.
We've got the Cauldron. I don't know. We've got a land, and I don't think it's an untapped land, though. I think it's actually no, maybe it.
That's a tapped one right now.
Is that I can't make out at the back if they've got the God, my brain is going to mush. The one that you can bounce something with, the spell land.
No, I don't think that's it. I think Will is on tap lands. So
well, let's see. Yeah, it's okay. That's not going to be our land for the turn here.
Yeah, and now Mikey is going into things with this huge board state.
It's kind of looking up over there. I see that the modern, they're just drawing their own in hands, and because that is such game one was so quick, I kind of want to jump back across to there just to see if this is going to fly through again. As we're starting off over here on the Espagori side, and that is a
Tameo
coming down. So is this the sideboard plan that they kind of move to now, or is this just I need something early on that can get on the board and potentially start blocking?
Yeah, I mean, Tameo is just such a strong card, right? Like, it's always hard for me to blame someone too much for registering something like this. It's not, I would say, the most common thing in the world. I'm a big fan of the Jace Prodigy build that the Team Cosmos played at the Pro Tour when it comes to having like a pivot threat. But, Tameo is so strong. I'm not going to ever blame someone for that, especially when you have a bunch of Faithful Mendings in your deck. Such an easy card to flip. And it looks like Preordained turn one, not what you want from Kevin. There is this weird song and dance that we haven't talked about yet, Will, since we're kind of covering matches, not looking at sideboards. How much of the unfair game plan did Alex keep in the deck? Is there 4 Gorgors, 4 Atraxas? Are there none, right? Am I playing Esper midrange now? And then on the other side from Kevin, how many Surgical Tormont Crypts type effects are you bringing in, right? Yeah, as we see a Surgical drawn for turn, there's at least one.
Well, let's look at the sideboard. So we've got we got an Iona Shield of Ethios. We've got 2 chants, 3 subtleties, 3 Wrath of the Skies. Like, what potentially are you bringing in here? I'd say the chants and the Wrath. So minimum we're cutting 5 cards. What 5 cards are not good in this deck? We're not main decking any Fort Seizures, which would be the go-to first card to cut. So I don't know. I feel like I need that like kind of get out of jail free button of having a 7/7 lifelinker.
Yeah, but you got to think how much graveyard hate does your opponent have, right?
Yeah.
If they're playing 4 Surgicals, well, you might not want to do that. Maybe you want to play 1 or 2 Gorios, right? And then pitch your Atraxas to your Forces, your Solitudes, etc. I'm not saying that's what happened, but that is the song and dance that happens every time against Gorios of, well, what kind of deck are you presenting? As I've played a lot of this deck, and I've, my opponents have brought in a ton of graveyard hate, and I cited like everything out, right? Like I kept in Gorios, Atraxa. Now we do see 1 Gorios in hand here for Alex, and Frog is discarding something main phase. That makes me think we might be seeing this Gorios fired off immediately. If you are Alex, then you have to be thinking something's up. Kevin has had a really slow start, but we're going to pull the trigger and force him to have the surgical.
Check. And does have the surgical. So that means if 2 life is going to get paid, but we get to exile the card and look at the opponent's hand and graveyard. And library to remove all of those copies or up to 4 copies. I believe it sometimes I messed that up online a few times and accidentally not clicked one in the bin. But also that Iona looks like it came in and is in the grip.
Yeah, so Alex went for reanimating Atraxa, even though it's quote unquote worse into surgical since you'll lose more reanimator targets. It's a situation where we were trying to find an untapped land so we actually ephemerate the Atraxa and sort of just, hey, slam the door here on, turn number 3 here. Alex could have played really conservatively here, maybe not expecting the surgical as, your Psychic Frog plus Tameo could flip here and then now you got to flip Tamio, becomes really hard to pressure. You're taking over the game. So Alex definitely far from out of this, but sort of tried to shove with a lot of chips on his side.
I get it. You're playing the cards. Was there a better time to do it? Maybe as the game plays out, there might have been one, but still in this instance, we've still got a Psychic Frog. We've still got a Tamio. We're turning them sideways. We're drawing another card, which is going to replace the card that we used on Goyos. So it's not do or undo, but we do find a fetch land, which means we do have Ephemerate up now if needs be.
Yeah, so really valuing protecting Frog and Tamio here by not playing that Surveyor land. Obviously, that's going to make your future turns a little awkward, but makes sense given what's in hand, right? We just can't afford to lose these threats.
Ooh.
As here comes Corey Steelcutter. Speaking of losing.
We're going wide.
Yeah. And this is a tough spot to be here as oh my gosh, the token box for coverage is so funny. Y'all get to see it as up on camera here. We're pulling out these monk tokens, and
that's not the coverage one. That's just Kevin's own personal.
Is that Kevin's own personal?
He travels everywhere around with it. He's kind
of that'd be sick if it was the case. As we're gonna pull out some monks here, and no real spells being played yet. Maybe we have a bauble or something that can trigger. But, on the future turns, even cards like Lava Dart, we're just going to get out of hand so incredibly quickly here. As I love this from Kevin, not wanting to block the Psychic Frog, not worried about that, just going to try and get Alex down. Not going to, worry about, are you going to, draw a card or whatever. I'll fight through it.
If it's Alex in that awkward situation, I want to draw cards with this frog, but I also don't want to be losing loads of life because I'm still now at 12, so it's going to be really awkward. Do I turn this sideways? Do I need to find that card? Do I need to flip the Tamio ASAP now? Which, of course, Tamio, I want to get the advantage. If I'm going to flip it, I might as well attack with it, which means we have no blockers. Definitely need to start finding some sort of solitude. We've got white card plus Ephemerate, so that would be ideal if we could find it.
Also, Gorios, discard the Ionia, Ephemerate it. That way it sticks around. There's solitude, though.
There's the solitude.
That's huge.
But then, even in this situation, it's good, but it's not it's not like a super backbreaking here because of those the two steel cutters that are out there. They're just going to generate more tokens.
So this play, I drew another solitude here for Alex. This play tells me Alex is probably going to crack the clue. Otherwise, you'd probably hold the Tamio back. I mean, you have so many clues, right? And these games don't last that long. And when they do, interesting. Holds up the mana. Maybe drawing the extra solitude changed his mind a little bit. Thought we might have seen a plus there on Tamio.
Yeah, I kind of like where go a card deeper. Potentially gives us another white card, which potentially gives us double solitude into triple solitude with the Ephemerate this turn. But we can start off on the other side. Expressive Iteration. Love to see this card getting played more in the format again. Like this card was so good for so long, died out a little bit because the color combo didn't see as much, but now it's kind of coming back and very good in this deck, being able to give us multiple triggers because it's going to be the first spell for the turn, but we get to pick one in exile, one in our hand, and one in the bottom of our library.
Yeah, great card for just going up on material. We saw it in the past really see play like in control decks, but in this deck where you just want to, cast lots of spells and you want to do it quickly. We saw game one, right? Imagine, Alex was at like 2 life. Well, drawing EI off the top is going to be such a good way to find your next burn spell. As it looks like Lava Dart here, and that's going to trigger a bunch of prowess and the Corey Steelcutters. This is a lot of damage, Will.
I'm going to ask you the question of how much damage is this?
Well, currently on the left, there's 6 from the creatures that were in play before, and then an additional 4 from the Corey Steelcutter up tokens. They are on a different prowess number, but basically they're one behind for the rest of the turn is the best way to think about it. So currently we're attacking for lethal because there is that Lava Dart once again in the graveyard.
Oof. So we're going to have to go Solitude, pitch an Iona, take out the Swift Spear.
Yeah, and then we're going to see Ephemerate. And
here's the heat.
Yeah, we talked about this last game, how holding it up was so important because it could stop this play. It's potentially doing here. Now, Alex could crack a clue and potentially hit another white card in order to pitch another Solitude. I think we're still dead because of the Lava Dart in the graveyard. Rough place to be.
1, 2, 2. Yep, so the heat's going to be another prowess trigger. So now there's going to be 2 on the bottom 2 and 3 on the top 2.
Yeah, and I think this is lethal, but I think if you Lava Dart, you're going to want to do it now because then you gain extra life. You can also just hold if this is exact lethal.
I must say this is exactsies, I believe. So the top 2 are at 8 So that's the 2 4-powered ones. The bottom 2 are 3 threes, but they're also
6. Yep. So 14.
So you need to hit that extra white card plus Solitude, and then even the Lava Dart, I think it's too much. So we're going to see the handshake there. We're going to see Kevin take down, get that match in Modern. But look at the teammates on the other side.
Yep.
We've got to be able to shape this up. So we're going to move across to Standard by looks at production. So we're going to move across to the VV Mirror here, where it looks like Mikey was able to take down game number 1. When we were watching that match, they were in a very good position. So no, surprises there, but going up against a player of Will's caliber, he can pull us back and potentially get this to a game 3 for his team, and it's looking in a good place right now.
Yeah, it's a really powerful spot for kind of both players. Will obviously has the Agathas. We talked about it last round when we've covered VV, how sometimes players go down on the actual VVs proper. So this could be a spot where the Agathas is good, but not as game breaking as you might expect game 1. Profs for Mikey though gives him a little hope despite being a little behind on board. Board matters a lot in this matchup, but you can always overwhelm your opponent. Looks like Will maybe does have a VV in hand. Couldn't quite make out that card. I don't know if he has a way to get in the graveyard or anything to even do with it if he did.
The one at the back of the grip.
Yeah, I think that's VV. Looks like the little hat sticking out. Yeah, there's
math checks out.
So it looks like
hard cast, sure.
I kind of like this. If it gets killed or anything like that, then you just put it under the cauldron. But also just sort of like, get on board, have this annoying card. And you have the Agathas, Mikey doesn't, right? So
Mikey does have one. Also did have an Essence Scatter in hand and decided not to fire off on the V for the reasons that you said. Obviously, it's great. Okay, you can it. I've got a cauldron. I'll just be able to get that effect on my current board creatures. So Mike's got a little bit of catching up here. Will's definitely, as you like me saying, more resources on the board, more resources in hand, and in a good position. How are we going to navigate this? We're going to start off the turn by playing an island. Do you see Cauldron brought to the front of the grip here? I think we've also got into the Floodmore as well. Maybe that's going to be used. If we can get a Cauldron down, bounce the Vivi back, counter it coming down, and then we've got that weird Cauldron back and forth between both players.
Yeah, it looks like Mikey's developing his own Steam Core Scholar. Notably, Will, is missing land drops over the course of this game. We saw cards like a Null in hand. This is huge with the profs. I mean, obviously, Will has VV, plus, we know that Mikey has a Cauldron in hand. We also saw how he might want to, hold up mana, as we saw from the last match. It's a really weird spot where Mikey just sort of has more power in play now, right? Like, the profs is going to put some amount of counters on something. You put on the Steam Core, you have the biggest creature that's also flying and vigilance. So if Will doesn't do something good, he's going to be in trouble.
What is good? What does that look like over on Will's side? What broken or powerful turn could he perform next turn to kind of push ahead in this matchup?
I mean, just getting more board presence or getting your own profs so that you can fight back on, it's board dominance that matters, right? And VV allows for that via a bunch of mana and playing a bunch of cards. So anything that's going to impact the board in a real way is what we're looking for here. So yeah, losing this Quantum Riddler is, not the end of the world for Mike. He has so many spells in hand, and, Will kind of understands that. But he gets a counter here, which can be huge. It's interesting because putting it on VV actually just gets you a mana, but it does put you more all in on VV.
That's what he's going to go with. So the counter is going to go there. So then, Mike is just saying, "Wait, I've got something to do, but we're going to do it in your upkeep." I feel this might be the into the Floodmore.
Yeah, Mikey wanting. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, I was going to say in the upkeep. That's what's going to happen. Targeting Vivi. Do we have a response over on Will Cougar's side?
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder what Mikey's trying to get him to use if he's doing it on upkeep.
Maybe it's just a bit of a stalling tactic.
Like recommit the mana, right?
Yeah. Because Will's low on mana resource right now. So what's he gonna do? You spend his whole turn casting it again. You basically just time walks him for 1 mana, right?
Yeah, I just meant Will was tapped out on your turn. So if you're trying to do something like that.
Oh, okay.
Maybe, it made me think maybe Mikey's trying to get Will to use some sort of spell pierce, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's a very interesting spot here. This prof's coming down. I mean, this is what we talked a second ago, right? Get board presence and take over the game. Profs and Agatha's means that, Will is ahead now on most metrics. Doesn't have a flyer that's going to stick around. That Riddler is going to warp away in a second.
So how many cards have we drawn this turn now? We've drawn 1, 2. So two counters will be added. I don't have a great look at the graveyard, so I don't think Delirium's on though, especially with a Cauldron on the board, keeping it at bay. How does Mikey get back into this then? Like, what? Obviously we've got more. We've got more land. We've got more cards in hand at this point, but we are kind of limiting on board. We need to start getting some interactive spells to potentially get back into this and kind of level it up and have it, go into I guess the late game here. What cards is it that we actually need?
I mean, what you just described, right? Like things that interact and get on board. So, like when it comes to the Xaxes of that, it's like, Torches, Flood Maws, Quantum Riddlers. You have to imagine Mikey has some of that if Riddler was discarded. And we're seeing Mikey take the trade here on the big Fear of Missing Out and letting Will decide, do you want, me to have this Fear of Missing Out or this Quantum Riddler?
Is that good or bad? Why Will we do that?
Well, Will's in an awkward spot with the Steam Core Scholar can potentially take over this game, right? And so, because it's like a flying vigilance creature, it could just hit for a ton. And potentially the Fear of Missing Out could be like a double combat where it hits again for a ton. So I think Will was trying to get something to trade like that, right? Because he was like, well, I might be losing the game, so I'm going to offer you a chance. Yes, this gives you choices, which is always a little rough, but I think I'm just dead in a lot of worlds you choose not to block anyways. So I'm just not going to worry about, having this blocker. I'm going to try and get this Steam Core or Fear of Missing Out off the table, whichever I think is a bigger threat. And now this Agatha Soul Cauldron comes down under the annul that's in Will's hand. We have the props as well. Obviously, there are, future copies into the Flood Maw. We can turn these into real cards, but.
So we're going to get the Flood Maw out of here, start chipping away at the bin. It's not going to cause Mikey to use his own Soul Cauldron here. Will's going to draw a Riddler for the turn. Still no land, I don't think. What do I know? But we're going to hard cast the Riddler from Warp for the turn. This is a nice target for this Essence Scatter.
Yeah, this is a great Essence Scatter here for Mikey. This will be the kind of the swing that we talked about, like how do you win this game? You dominate the board, etc. Your opponent's spending their turn trying to get Riddler down, and then you just spend 2 mana, answer it. And then we talked about this before. End of turn, Mikey can then use Atlas to grow the fear, and Kruger can't really respond if he's afraid of VV potentially happening. So it looks like Mikey doesn't even care. This might be a sign of incredible strength. Could have gone after like the Fear Missing Out, grown his fear a little bit, or let Kruger grow his Mako.
Couple cards in hand now. Can't make out what's that one brought to the front. I can't make out what that
Annul. Annul's in the hand for Mikey, and Riddler's in the front card in the hand of Kruger.
I think we've also got a Fear of Missing Out here over on Mikey's side as well. I think that's at the back of the grip. But 3 mana is what we're going to use.
Yeah, get a Steam Core Scholar down seems pretty reasonable to me.
How much of a linchpin is this card in this deck? Like, how good is it? It seems really good.
It's quite good. It's definitely a role player, right? Like it, like you said, like it's making the whole house stay together. Like there's other cards you could play, like Tursa, for example, something we saw people play a lot of. But just being a flying vigilance creature actually matters a lot when a lot of your games, as we've seen so far in the speech match area, are just one of big creatures. So flying vigilance is just huge when people are actually playing games of Magic that involve combat. We see Marauding Mako be the play here. A little interested not seeing Mikey just develop a Fear of Missing Out and discard the Mako, but maybe wants to just play towards maximum resources.
Well, we're going to play it now. Then for 2, we're going to play a Riddler. I think we've got 1 card in hand, so we'll be able to draw 2. Remember, Will's tapped out here. Did you just?
I think he's drawing them 1 at a time. Yeah.
One of them was a Multiversus Passage. Didn't get a good look at the other ones, but that's up to 4 counters now that are going to be moved from that profs.
Yeah, and having the Riddler makes a lot of sense as to why you would maybe want to hold the Fear of Missing Out. Just actually get on board with the Mako and get your extra card. And now Steam Core Scholar is huge yet again.
Nice 6/6 flying vigilance creature. Going to be good on attack and defense here, especially into Will's board where he's just got that lone 2/2. Riddler's going to go to Warp. Will's going to use the Cauldron end of turn. And I think, yeah, he's just going to... Oh, he able to hit a creature, so does get a +1/+1 counter for it.
Yeah, it was interesting. Last turn, Will went with the sorcerer, or the instant, excuse me. It could just be that more instants hit the graveyard, and so now he doesn't want to fight with Delirium that way. Could also just be he values the +1 counter now and didn't as much last turn.
It's going to be in the tank now. How do we get around this? A lot of resources. You can see a lot of them obviously on both sides, but being able to turn this into a W, this is where the hard part of this matchup comes. Trying to eke out these incremental little tiny bits of value where we can. 5 mana. That spells a hard cast Riddler to me. We're going to get the green light. That's going to resolve. Draw 1 card. Was that Spell Pierce off the top?
I think so. I didn't quite fully make it out. Yeah, that is Spell Pierce.
Which is nice when we've got 1 man left up. So it's a nice one to draw.
Yeah, I think we have the squeeze 2 on a null and Spell Pierce. So, like, if you try to, get an extra prof or try to play a Fear of Missing Out, that is a card that is an enchantment creature. So,
just never land off the top. But I think we do have a Fear of Missing Out. But as you just said, we've got we've got an answer for that in hand right now.
I imagine what's going through Mikey's mind right now would be like, do I play this Riddler from my hand as like a warp thing and go like land, warp Riddler, try to play Fear or something in that vein, that ordering, right? Draw a bunch of cards. Or do I hard cast this other Riddler, commit my mana pretty heavily to it, and just try to get multiple big flyers on board? And, like if there's into the Flood Maw for my Steam Core Scholar, such as life.
Why are we seeing this on Will's side that he's valuing hard casting it for 5, but over Mike's side he's doing it for 2? And obviously we're going to go back, rewind a little bit. That Fear Missing Out is going to be on the stack. It's not resolved at this point.
Yeah, I think maybe Mikey accidentally didn't tap a red land. Also, could just be Will thinking about it. Like we know Will does have a null. Mm-hmm. But I imagine part of it is like just the difference in resources, right? Will needs to get something like the Riddler down. He needs to have a flying creature in order to potentially just block. And also, just uses his mana a little better, right? Like the context of the hand, you can tell a lot by what's going on with their plays into that and also the board state. So now, Fear of Missing Out looks to be 1 card type away, as we have instant.
No, we got creature, enchantment, and those
are all instants. Yeah, so that you're 1 away. Looks like we're going to get a question about what exactly is happening here. I imagine the question has something to do with like does this check upon resolution as well? As you could like maybe when the trigger is in the stack before it resolves Agatha's. Something along those lines. Might also just be something a lot more simple than that. That might not be an English copy of Fear. I can't quite see the language, so maybe Will's just double checking. Who knows? But either way, it's a weird spot.
It's always good to check, right? This is why we have judges and officials at these events to make sure, not just to keep everything nice and fair and level across the board, but also sometimes a lot of cards get printed in different languages that you don't know. Like, can I just get the text on this? Can I see what this does? Just to make sure that you're fully aware of what it does, because nothing feels worse when you think you know what a card does and then you get blown out by it and it doesn't do what you thought it actually did. Multiverse is going to come down here. That's going to cost us 2 life. Means we've got 5 open, Riddler in hand plus land. Now, do you value hard casting it here, or are we just going to go 2? Looks like we are just going to go 2. But 2 mana, draw 2 means we've got 3 more mana for the turn if needs be. Another multiverse. I think that's just 2 lands off the top.
I think it was 2. We should have drawn. Yeah, we drew 3 there, right? Because of the oh, excuse me, there's only 1 Riddler. Pardon me. I got a little lost in the sauce for a second.
But didn't hit what he wanted to. Maybe we'd have been more happy hard casting now.
This goes
2 counters and prof. Sorry.
No, yeah, you're good. I was just gonna say this goes back to that board dominance thing, right? Mikey was maybe hoping to hit something like into the Flood Maw, maybe even like in a braid to get this Agatha's off of the board for Will while the shields are down, but hit double land and now is going to lose some of that board presence that he had. Remember, Mikey also that Will has that VV that he bounced 5 turns ago now. Hasn't hit the graveyard, hasn't hit the battlefield. So Mikey can't go too hard on his own Agathas.
Looks like Smith has leveled it up against Goodman at the bottom in the sealed decks. The Battle of Spider-Man sealed at the bottom, so they're going to be going to a game 3. Still in game 2 here between Will and Mikey. Of course, we know what will happen in the modern match. Is it Paris was able to take down extremely quickly against Esper Goyos. Round number 3, so still everything on the line for these players. Need to keep winning to get that good finish to find themselves in today's top 8. And we're just going to pass the turn potentially before Will remembers to exile with this Cauldron and put another counter on his own Riddler. Now, talk me through this. I feel like I'm always in this situation. Will's being able to use the Cauldron, but Mikey's not. Why is Will being able to gain value from it at the end of the turn, but yet Mikey's not being able to gain value from it at the end of the turn? What's the difference here? Why is one able to do it other than the other? And then again, move back to Will's side, he plays the Vivi and plays a Nick and Sawyer.
So before Sawyer hit the battlefield, I think Mikey was just forgetting, if we're just being 100. Okay. I think he just missed a couple times. Now that you can commit crimes and get a VV in the graveyard, Mikey has to be a lot more careful with his Cauldron. Those turns where Will was tapping out and had no way to really put a card in yard at instant speed, then it was like just missed value. At this point now, it's a strategic choice, as you just can't afford to, let the opponent get the VV going, at least in Mikey's mind.
Discard a land, draw a land off the fear of missing out. Not what Mikey wants to see. 5. We're going to hard cast this Riddler. It's going to be another card deeper. Another land. Oh, how many? Is that like 4 or 5 lands off the top in a row now?
Yeah, that's a lot of lands in a row. And, we saw Mikey have a huge, couple of spell turns in a row. So, it all evens out with enough time, especially when you draw so many cards. But, yeah, this is the problem sometimes, right? Like if you get a lead and you can't convert it super early, then the board just kind of super stalls. And we're seeing Mikey just pass. Could have potentially grown his Steam Core Scholar and attacked into the big Riddler. But decides against it, decides to go wide.
Why would he not do that? Yeah, I said, why is he choosing to go wide? Is it just because he doesn't want to get blown out by something like a Into the Flood Maw?
I think so. I think he's playing around Into the Flood Maw on a Steam Core Scholar. And he just wants his Riddler to be able to bump heads with the opposing Riddler.
Fear of missing out, number 2. Discard the Spell Pierce, draw a card. But it's going to draw 2 cards because there's the Riddlers on the board. It's going to be land into Cauldron. Neither of these are great right now.
And Mikey should know at this point that probably doesn't matter at the end of turn, and I can just use Agatha's to eat something like a fear. There's double fears in play. Mikey needs to be preventing Delirium.
What's Will missing at this point? It's almost like he's got the so to speak combo locked up. Got all these key pieces right now. Is it the card draw he's missing?
Well, yeah, so the deck doesn't, when we say combo, right? It's just you put 30 mana of worthless things into play. That's what ends up happening, right? Gone are the days of the Draconaut Engineer where people were making a bunch of dragons and attacking, just not efficient enough. You just put a bunch of stuff. We're just low on resources, right? So it's we've played a lot of cards, we have a lot of power, and now we just need to navigate combat. And this double fear of missing out for players can potentially break that combat wide open. As Mikey does have a sick line here, he can cycle his Marauding Mako to draw a card, but with the Quantum Riddler in play, we'll draw 2 because he has a low hand size. So a little 2 mana draw 2. You love to see it. 1. Oh, excuse me. There are 2 lands in the back of me. I thought you had 1.
Yeah, he's drawing quite a few of them. Spell Pierce is what he finds off the cycle, though.
Not the world's greatest.
But we've got another Riddler on Warp. That's going to come in. That's going to go another card deeper. Didn't get a look at what that was. I think
it's Profs. If it is Profs, this could be pretty nice. Yeah, you're right.
It's Profs.
Yeah. From here, Mikey can go grow my Steam Core Scholar, attack you for 9, I believe. It's 2 counts, would have been 8.
Gonna put it on the Riddler.
Yeah, I think at this point, I think I figured it out. The reason he's not going to do it is because each time Agatha's could have grown the Riddler to be big enough to survive combat, and Mikey doesn't want to tap out of the Agathas. So now at this point, that's why he's not doing it on his turn. but he needs to start using the Agathas on one of his turns, because even though like you're opening up the chance to maybe get Vivi under there, Will has enough mana. It's fine. Like he is not going to need 30-ish mana, and if he does, such as life, you just have to like get Delirium offline for Will and grow your board with those extra +1/+1 counters.
How about 31 and 32? As he drew 2 cards and both of them were lands. We're going to start targeting the graveyard. That's going to trigger the duelist in play. So we get to discard a card, draw a card. Get a little bit deeper. Another Cauldron's going to come down now.
Yeah, and you see Will kind of knows like, hey, even though things are kind of here, I know this can get broken down any moment. Willing to risk running into a card like a Null here in order to get that loot off the Duelist of the Mind, get these power, and try and break through, because the small board state here I think is really causing an issue. As it looks like what Mikey is actually doing here is spell piercing in order to tap Will out of mana a little bit, but also maybe help himself get closer to less cards in hand for the Riddler.
Yeah, I remember he's got 2 land stuck in that grip. Only able to do 1 turn, of course, so not getting the best value out of this double Riddler play that he has in hand. If he's able to empty his hand, start drawing 3 a turn, potentially that's how we can start pulling away with this. Was that an Into the Floodmaw?
It definitely was a blue card. I think it might have been Floodmaw. Looks like Steam Core Scholar. So that's a draw 2. And that's a way to get those lands out of our hand.
Yeah, this is 2 lands gone. 2 +1/+1 counters go on the Mako. 2, of course, because of Profs will be coming later on. At the minute, that could change momentarily.
Yeah, this is a spot where from Mikey, you should be able to break through this board stall. And these matchups there's so much going on, as you can see, as we're now going to draw 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Due to double Riddler. But yeah, so I was going to say, there's so much going on, as you can see. Even I'm having to process all this. I think this is why like we've lost the Cauldron. Is he's kind of defaulted it to this duty in the back of his mind, and sometimes we need to compartmentalize this kind of stuff here, as it looks like another Props is coming down, which will empty our hand and let us draw 4 cards.
So we draw another 3, 1, 2, and
looks like we maybe missed some Riddlers. There's actually 3 Riddlers in play, so I'm pretty sure that'd be drawing more.
There it is, and I think we drew all spells as well. 7 cards being drawn for the turn right now, so that process is going to add 7 counters to a creature momentarily once we get to combat. Is this enough to one shot?
It's got to be close. I mean, we have Delirium, we can definitely one shot, but it's going to be hard to have Delirium with our low graveyard count and the Agathas. Now we might see Into the Floodmaw bounce Agathas to enable Delirium. It looks like we don't have anything else that can discard. I was going to say, you only see that there was a discard. So Into the Floodmaw bounces the big Riddler. There is a Duelist of the Mind blocking in the sky, but this Into the Floodmaw seems to be bouncing it. And it looks, yeah, it does look like we've won here. I mean, I don't know exactly how much of this power can attack this turn, but I know there's a Steam Core Scholar that's 6, and I know there's a Riddler that's a 6. That's 12, and we're at 14. So if we're not having lethal, it has to be dangerously close to lethal.
I think we bounced both blockers with flying. I think we've got enough in the air. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, Goodman was able to take down the shield. So this will lock up this match for the team. If this is lethal coming across in the air, if Will does not have an answer. Did we work out if we have a Delirium? We've got instant, we've got lands. That's it, right?
I think it's just instants and lands. So what happened there is you saw Will activate Agathas to get a crime committed to loot, I think, looking for a Into the Floodmaw. And now Mikey is trying to see, yeah, can I do this lethal and play around Into the Floodmaw, right? Because obviously this is sort of like the only way things go bad is Floodmaw. So would I rather have a Steam Core or a Riddler? And he's decided to Steam Core. And yeah, you see Kruger extend the hand.
Taking it down, well, like navigated there by Mikey. Sometimes it looks a bit spicy that Will was being able to pull ahead, and especially when he was able to drew like 5 or 6 lands in a row, but was able to pull it back there, showing the real power there of Riddler and how the reason we see it being seen in multiple formats, not just standard. So shout out to them. I'm sure we're going to try and get them in the booth momentarily for an interview. A lot of people don't like that mirror. It looks pretty complicated. We were getting to that bit of a sticky point where it was like, okay, what's going to happen? But when Mikey was able to pull away and get those Floodmaws, and we mentioned it before the game, how good Floodmaw is, it really shined there. And that was the reason for it, right?
Yeah, when you're able to kind of close games out, bounce spells are just very efficient. And when you're maybe tight on lands, that can also be the case. We saw, on I think it was like Mikey's turn 6, but one of the first turns we joined, when Kruger was stuck on mana, we used to into the Floodmon on a VV at kind of like a weird time where it could be replayed, but it led to Kruger, due to drawing a land, wanting to do other things, and he just couldn't develop it again, couldn't get the mana going. And Mikey just had a lot more mana to use each turn. And so even though he had a turn or a turn cycle or two where he drew about 6 or 7 lands in a row, he was kind of allotted that because he had that early lead, he had that time, and eventually got there with the spells and closed the door out on the opponent. So great play there from both players. Really cool to see. And I think, the standard match, maybe not the most fun when you look at like a metagame health, but I do think there's a lot of interesting decisions that get to be made in the actual games themselves, right? And that's always at least, a little icing on the cake, as it were. It's like, okay, there's something nice here, for everyone.
And that's going to reward like a lot of practice, right? Like, you're going to have to put the reps in for that, because you're just going to, because there's so many decisions and micro decisions that all layer up on top of each other. The more reps you get in, the better it's going to be. And there's a really good way to get a lot of reps in when you're at home, and it's of course by playing on Magic Online, which coincidentally has been teaming up with the NRG series to bring us an event coming up. The next event, which is happening in a couple of weeks, which is going to be a sealed event. Next week, in fact. I know how dates work. This is it on the screen. Scan that QR code for all the information, but Mason's going to give you a quick refresher on it if you don't want to do that.
Yeah, so you can scan the QR code, sign up, etc. But November 9th, Edge of Eternity sealed, $2,500 prize pool, and an invite to champs with over $30,000 of prizes on the line, along with a Pro Tour invite. A lot of good happening there. This is our first event with Magic Online. We're working with them. This one is limited to the continental United States of, USA and Canada. So if you are in one of those two places, you can play that. But what are you going to do, right? This is sort of where we're at. This is your chance to get into champs, 24 players, over $30,000 in prizes. Super, super cool to be a part of this history. It looks like the round timer is a little late here and there, so we're not going to have an interview with our players. We're going to give them a little bit of time to cool off, use the bathroom, etc. before the next round starts. But before that next round starts, Will, let's show the slide for 2026. We just got everything locked in. Let's break this down. So if you're going to play the NRG series in next year, this is what you have to look forward to. A lot of information here to parse, Will. This is my first time doing our coverage. Let's see if we can nail it here. So in-person weekend events. We're going to have 4 big events throughout the year. We're going to announce those dates very, very soon. Definitely expect them by our 2025 champs, which is going to be December 13th and the 14th. So make sure to follow along and you don't miss any of the actions who's going to the Pro Tour. Each of those weekends are going to include at least one Team 10K Showdown. That's going to get you an invite to our end of the year Players Champs, which we're still doing here. 24 players, invite only, $35,000 prizes, and a Pro Tour invite. We're also going to have 2 individual trials. They're going to be 2.5Ks. We are still figuring out all the formats for everything. And so we are going to be announcing those formats much closer to the event. We're still going to give you a month or 2 head start, but we're going to try and pick formats that are exciting. We understand that there's been a lot of formats maybe kind of, are a little tough. Let's call a spade, right? Spider-Man Limited, no one really knew. We have it today. We're doing what we can, right? We're not going to have those problems in 2026. We're redoing the way we do things. It might be a little more hectic than some of y'all would like to have 2 or 3 months of practice time, but it's going to hopefully lead to more exciting, better events for you. We're really excited for that. Those events we're going to get announced soon. And then when we get closer to those dates, once again, we will announce the formats for those events. The 2.5Ks, we talked to Nora about this. They are 4 events that are going to be exciting for players. So whether that's like Modern's really good right now, we're going to have Modern. Oh, people are loving Pauper, we're going to do Pauper. Pioneer's really big for some reason, we're going to do Pioneer. We're going to figure out what makes the most sense for you, the players, because we're going to invest in the memories and invest in you, trying to make the best weekends for you possible.
Yeah, I feel like it was really nice when Norman was speaking to us about this, and he said the key word to me, which was, it's going to be based on format health. And I was like, that's exactly those 2 words just make everything perfect. I know that going into it, it's not going to be locked in. We're going to have let's do a little bit of Pioneer. Let's go move into Legacy. Let's do a bit of Pauper. Oh, Modern's really good right now. Oh, Standard's really good right now. And we get to pick and choose as we go along. I think that's not going to benefit, say, the players, but also the viewing experience for all you beautiful people watching at home.
Yeah, let's pretend, it's like Nadu Modern, Standard is Pioneer, a VV type situation again. We're going to look at Pioneer. We're going to look at, Pop. We're going to look at these other formats, and we're going to bring you something that is exciting to play for the players and good for you, the viewer at home. So make sure to follow along and we don't miss anything. Now, Notice the other half of our screen. We're doing 4 MTGO showdowns next year. So it's interesting. A lot of players were like, well, if we do good with the first one with limited, maybe we'll do more. And meanwhile, I'm like, I know we're going to do more, and it's official. So we're doing 4 of these events. Those events and the details when it comes to the format, once again, we're going to have more for you very soon, on our website and on our social media. And as once again we get closer to those events, we're going to do the events that make sense for you, the players. These online event showdowns mean the winner will go to our champs just like they will next week in Fred Eternity. And so if you're a player who wants to play in the NRG series events, but maybe you can't afford to travel, or maybe you're just not able to do it because of work, right? You just, hey, often I have to work on Saturdays, but I could play something on Sunday, or vice versa. This is for you. We're trying to get more people involved in competitive Magic because it is so much fun and it's such a great time. So I hope that if this is something that speaks to you and you're a big Magic Online player, you'll consider playing in these events, as they are incredibly high EV. There's obviously going to be lots of prizes like we saw on the Edge of Eternity slide a second ago, but just this $35,000 24-player invite-only event with a PT invite attached to it all, that would be more than enough. And there will obviously be tons of prizes attached on top of that for each of those MTGO Showdown events. Thank you for Daybreak for working with us on that. We'll have more information for that soon. I'm going to talk a little bit about the leaderboard when it comes to this next year, because that's one of the big things, right? And we've got a little bit of time here to kill. On the NRG series, we really like to promote consistent play, right? It's great that there are a lot of events where you can spike and go to the Pro Tour. That is a good thing with the RC. I think getting people in there is great. But sometimes it can really suck, Will, right? Like you just have a bunch of events where you top 16, you don't get that top 8, right? That can really hurt. We think that's sort of, a tragedy. And it's, one of the nice things about having an event series like us is we can make the rules. So all the exact details on the website soon, but basically we're going to have at-large bids, just like we have this last year for our 4 in-person events. We're going to have some at-large bids for our Magic Online events. And then overall, between all of the in-person and online events, players will make our end of the year championship event. So if you're doing the math, if you win any of the Team 10K showdowns, that's going to be a bunch of the invites. You win the MTGO showdowns, that's going to be a bunch of the invites. The winner of this year's champ will obviously be invited back. You got to have the defending title. And then there should be, by my count, 7 at-large bids. We'll get all the details for you close to that so you can plan out your trips if you're going to make a run at our Players Champ. But this year's Players Champ is going to be one of the, I think, potentially more interesting and easier ones to qualify for because of the online events. You don't need to travel as much. You can only need to go to those 4 in-person events and then do the online ones. And maybe you just spike the online one and then go and pet your dog and pop off with all coverage for all events, and all those details will be coming more very, very soon. But if you don't want to miss anything, follow us on social media at NRG Series everywhere, or follow us on Twitch or YouTube, depending on where you're watching this VOD moment right now, by doing the little follow button in the corner. Will, that was a lot of information.
I'm gonna clap, man. I feel you need to get a mouthful of water there. That was a lot of talking good on there. 2026 is going to be a very exciting year here on Nerd Rage Gaming for the Championship Series, and of course tying in with Daybreak Games and Magic Online. It is going to be something that I'm really looking forward to watching, because I can't take part in it, so I'm going to be definitely watching it and potentially casting in it. Maybe I'll be able to play in it. Maybe I'll move to America just so I can play in these. Who knows? I do need to do that team event with you at some point, and we need to find a third, though. I don't know who that's going to be. Any volunteers, chat?
We'll get Anurag out from the West Coast and pull him in. He's done a lot of NRG coverage in the past. We'll get Anu in. But we're going to take a second, set up for our round 4 feature match. We'll be back very soon.